The mockery begins. The massive space station Nexus Prime floated like a metal city among the stars. Inside its main assembly hall, representatives from 12 different species gathered for the annual Galactic Defense Council fleet demonstration. The air buzzed with excitement and pride as each race prepared to showcase their most advanced warships. Admiral Zixthor of the Vorthok Empire stood at the center podium, his green scales gleaming under the bright lights. His yellow eyes scanned the assembled delegates with satisfaction. The Vorthok had ruled this sector for 3 centuries, and their military might was legendary throughout the galaxy. "Welcome, fellow council members," Zixthor announced in his deep, commanding voice. "Today we celebrate our combined strength. Each species will demonstrate their newest vessel, proving our unity against any threat." Murmurs of approval rippled through the crowd. The Chithari clicked their mandibles excitedly. The crystalline Luxuri chimed in harmonious tones. Even the silent Wraith delegates seemed pleased, their dark robes shifting slightly. Captain Sarah Chen sat quietly in the human section, her brown eyes observing everything. She wore a simple blue uniform with minimal decorations, unlike the elaborate displays of rank worn by other species. Her black hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and she carried herself with calm confidence that some mistook for weakness. "First, the mighty Vorthok Empire presents the Worldbreaker," Zixthor declared with obvious pride. A holographic display showed a massive vessel shaped like a curved blade. Its hull gleamed with polished metal, and energy crackling along its edges suggested devastating firepower. The ship was nearly 2 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. The crowd gasped in admiration. The Worldbreaker moved with surprising grace for its size, its engines leaving trails of blue fire across space. Energy shields shimmered around its hull like protective aurora. Equipped with dark matter cannons and quantum shields, Zixthor continued, "This vessel can destroy entire fleets single-handedly." Next came the Chithari contribution. Commander Keelanix stepped forward, her 6 arms gesturing elegantly. The insectoid being stood nearly 3 meters tall, her exoskeleton polished to mirror brightness. "The Chithari Hive presents the Swarm Mother," she announced in her clicking voice. Their ship looked like a massive insect, its hull covered in hexagonal patterns. As the hologram rotated, smaller vessels emerged from hidden bays like angry wasps from a nest. The demonstration showed how these fighter craft could overwhelm enemies through sheer numbers, while the mothership provided support. 300 strike craft, Keelanix explained proudly. Each pilot shares consciousness with the ship's mind. Perfect coordination, perfect execution. The other species continued their presentations. The Luxuri showed their crystal fortress, a ship that could bend light itself as both weapon and shield. The Wraith unveiled their Phantom Destroyer, a vessel that could phase between dimensions to avoid attacks. Each demonstration was more impressive than the last. Advanced technology filled the displays. Energy weapons that could melt asteroids, shields that could deflect solar radiation, engines that could tear holes in space-time itself. Then came the human's turn. Sarah Chen stood slowly, her movement drawing curious glances. She walked to the podium with measured steps, her expression calm and unreadable. "The Terran Federation presents the U.S. Perseverance," she said simply. The holographic display activated, showing a ship that looked almost primitive compared to the others. The U.S. Perseverance was roughly rectangular, with thick armor plating and simple lines. Its hull was gray and functional, with no decorative elements or impressive energy displays. The ship looked old, though it had actually been built recently. Its design seemed to come from humanity's early space age, when function mattered more than form. The engines glowed with ordinary fusion fire, not the exotic energies other species preferred. Silence filled the hall. Then someone started laughing. It began as a quiet chuckle from the Vorthok section, but soon spread throughout the assembly. The Chithari clicked in amusement. Even the normally dignified Luxuri chimed with what sounded like laughter. "Is this a joke?" called out a Vorthik officer. That thing looks like a cargo hauler. Did they send their maintenance ship by mistake? Added a Chithari delegate. Sarah Chen stood at the podium, her face showing no emotion as the laughter continued. She waited patiently until the noise died down. The U.S. Perseverance is our newest combat vessel, she stated calmly. It represents the best of human engineering. This statement caused another wave of laughter. Admiral Zixthor tried to maintain diplomatic composure, but even he couldn't hide his amusement. Captain Chen, he said with barely concealed condescension, surely humanity has more advanced designs. This vessel appears quite basic. Appearances can be deceiving. Sarah replied. Humans have learned to value substance over style. Commander Kilanik stepped forward, her compound eyes reflecting the light as she studied the human ship's image. With respect, Captain, your vessel shows no visible weapon systems, no energy shields, no advanced propulsion. How does it defend itself? Our defensive systems are integrated into the hull design. Sarah answered. We prefer not to advertise our capabilities. This comment drew more laughter. The idea that such a plain-looking ship could have hidden capabilities seemed absurd to the assembled aliens. Captain Chen. Admiral Zixthor said with a patronizing smile, perhaps humanity should focus on trade and diplomacy rather than military matters. Leave the fighting to those better equipped for it. Sarah Chen's jaw tightened slightly, but her voice remained steady. Humans have been fighting for thousands of years. Admiral, we've learned a few things about survival. The demonstration continued with other species showing off their capabilities. The alien vessels performed impressive maneuvers, their advanced technology creating spectacular displays of power and precision. In contrast, the U.S. Perseverance moved slowly and deliberately through its demonstration. It showed no special abilities, fired no impressive weapons, generated no energy shields. It simply flew in straight lines, its engines producing ordinary exhaust. The mockery continued throughout the day. Alien officers made jokes about the flying brick and wondered if humans had forgotten how to build proper spaceships. Some suggested that humanity had peaked during their early space age and was now in decline. Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez, Sarah's tactical officer, sat beside her with clenched fists. His face was red with suppressed anger as he listened to the insults. Captain, he whispered, shouldn't we show them what the ship can really do? Sarah shook her head slightly. Not yet, Marcus. Let them think what they want to think. As the day's demonstrations concluded, Admiral Zixthor addressed the assembly again. Thank you all for this impressive display of our combined might. Together, we represent the strongest military force in the galaxy. The aliens cheered and congratulated each other on their advanced technology. The humans sat quietly, largely ignored by the celebration around them. That's when the emergency alert sounded. Red lights flashed throughout the station as urgent messages flooded the communication systems. Admiral Zixthor's expression changed from satisfaction to concern as he read the incoming reports. What is it? Asked Commander Kilanix. Long-range sensors are detecting a massive fleet approaching from outside our space, Zixthor announced. Unknown configuration, extremely hostile intentions. The celebration stopped immediately. Delegates rushed to their stations as more information came in. The attacking force was enormous, numbering in the hundreds of vessels. Their technology was unlike anything in the Galactic database. Who are they? Someone asked. Unknown, Zixthor replied grimly. They've already destroyed 3 outer colonies. Complete annihilation, no survivors. A holographic display showed sensor readings from the devastated worlds. Where once there had been thriving colonies, now only debris fields remained. The attackers had been thorough and merciless. They're calling themselves the Void Seekers, continued the Admiral. They claim to be cleansing the galaxy of inferior life forms. Fear rippled through the assembly. This was no ordinary raid or territorial dispute. The Void Seekers represented an existential threat to all known civilizations. We must mobilize our fleets immediately declared Commander Kelonix. Combined, we can match their numbers. But can we match their technology? Asked a Luxari delegate. These readings show weapons and defenses we've never seen before. The council erupted in debate. Some wanted to attack immediately. Others preferred to wait and study the enemy. The Wraiths suggested retreating to fortified positions, while the Vorthak demanded immediate retaliation. Through it all, Captain Sarah Chen sat quietly, studying the sensor data with intense concentration. Her trained eye noticed details others missed, patterns in the enemy's movement and formation that revealed important information. Captain Chen. Admiral Zix Thor said suddenly, "What does humanity suggest?" All eyes turned to Sarah. She stood slowly, her expression thoughtful. "We suggest reconnaissance," she said. "Someone needs to get close enough to study their capabilities before we commit our main forces." "A suicide mission," scoffed a Vorthak officer. "No single ship could survive against that fleet." "Perhaps," Sarah agreed, "but sometimes one ship can accomplish what a fleet cannot." Admiral Zix Thor considered this. "You're volunteering." "The U.S. Perseverance is available for the mission," Sarah confirmed. The room erupted in surprised murmurs. The humans were offering to send their pathetic-looking ship against an enemy that had already destroyed entire worlds. "Captain," Commander Kelonix said gently, "your vessel is not equipped for such a mission. You would be destroyed before you could gather any useful intelligence. Let us worry about our survival." Sarah replied calmly, "We've been underestimated before." Admiral Zix Thor looked around the room. The other species were clearly reluctant to risk their advanced vessels on what seemed like a hopeless mission. The humans, despite their apparent technological inferiority, were willing to sacrifice themselves for the greater good. "Very well," he decided. "The U.S. Perseverance will conduct reconnaissance. All other fleets will remain on standby." As the council session ended, aliens whispered among themselves about the brave but foolish humans. They expected to watch the U.S. Perseverance's destruction, another example of human naivety in the face of superior technology. But Captain Sarah Chen had other plans. As she walked back to her ship, a small smile played at the corners of her mouth. The galaxy was about to learn that humans had been hiding more than just their emotions. The real demonstration was about to begin. The truth revealed. The U.S. Perseverance moved through space at what appeared to be its maximum speed, which was painfully slow compared to other galactic vessels. On Nexus Prime, the assembled alien delegates watched through long-range sensors, some with pity, others with grim satisfaction at what they saw as inevitable human destruction. ETA to contact with hostile fleet. 6 hours, reported Lieutenant Rodriguez from his tactical station. Captain Sarah Chen sat in her command chair, appearing calm despite heading toward what everyone believed was certain death. Her bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, their faces showing no fear, only professional concentration. "Captain," came Admiral Zix Thor's voice over the communication channel, "you still have time to abort this mission. No shame in recognizing impossible odds." "Thank you for the concern, Admiral," Sarah replied politely. "But humans don't abort missions easily." In the observation deck of Nexus Prime, Commander Kelonix watched the human ship's progress with genuine sadness. Despite their technological limitations, she respected human courage. "They're going to die," she said to Admiral Zix Thor. "That fleet destroyed 3 colonies. What can one primitive ship accomplish?" "Nothing," Zix Thor replied. "But perhaps their sacrifice will provide some tactical intelligence before the end." 4 hours later, the U.S. Perseverance reached the edge of the contested system. Sensor readings showed the Void Seeker fleet in all its terrifying glory. 50 massive vessels, each one larger than the human ship, moved in perfect formation toward the next target. The Void Seeker ships were unlike anything in galactic records. Their hulls seemed to absorb light, making them appear as dark tears in space itself. Energy readings suggested weapons of incredible power, shields that could deflect anything known to galactic science. "Contact in 30 minutes," Rodriguez reported. "They definitely detected us." Sarah Chen stood and walked to the main display screen. The approaching enemy fleet filled the view, a wall of dark death advancing with unstoppable momentum. "All stations, this is the captain," she announced to her crew. "It's time to show them what humans are really capable of." She pressed a series of buttons on her command console, entering an authorization code known only to the highest levels of Terran command. Authorization Alpha 77 confirmed, the ship's computer announced in a pleasant female voice, releasing operational restrictions. What happened next made the watching aliens question their own sensors. The U.S. Perseverance began to change. Panels slid away from the hull, revealing weapons that had been completely hidden. The ship's boring gray exterior started glowing with soft blue energy as advanced shield generators came online. The engines, which had been producing simple fusion exhaust, suddenly blazed with exotic matter reactions that warped space itself around the vessel. "What in the void?" Admiral Zixthor whispered, staring at the transformed human ship. But the transformation wasn't finished. The U.S. Perseverance's hull itself began shifting, armor plates rearranging into more efficient configurations. Hidden sensor arrays emerged from concealed housings. The rectangular cargo ship appearance was revealed as camouflage, hiding a sleek predator beneath. "Commander Keela Nix," Zixthor said urgently, "are you seeing this?" "Impossible," the Chithari officer clicked rapidly. "Their ship is completely different from what they showed us." On the human bridge, Lieutenant Rodriguez grinned as his tactical displays lit up with weapon systems the Galactic Council had never imagined. "Quantum disruptors online," he reported. "Temporal shields activated. Neural combat eye initializing." "Neural eye?" Captain Chen asked. "ARIA here, Captain." The ship's computer responded, but now its voice carried an edge of intelligence that hadn't been there before. "All systems are fully operational. I have analyzed enemy formations and identified optimal attack vectors." The Void Seeker fleet had spread into attack formation, clearly intending to overwhelm the single human vessel through sheer numbers. Their dark ships moved with predatory grace, weapons charging with ominous energy. "Incoming transmission from the lead enemy vessel," Rodriguez reported. "Put it through," Sarah ordered. The main screen flickered, showing a being that defied easy description. It appeared to be made of living shadow, with eyes like burning stars, and a voice that seemed to come from the depths of space itself. "Small ship," the entity spoke, "you have entered territory claimed by the Void Seekers. Surrender now, and your death will be quick." Sarah Chen stepped forward, her expression unchanged. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Federation. You have attacked innocent colonies. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The alien entity laughed, a sound like grinding asteroids. "You dare threaten us? Your pathetic vessel cannot stand against the might of our fleet." "We'll see," Sarah replied calmly, then closed the channel. The first Void Seeker attack came moments later. 50 ships fired simultaneously, their dark energy weapons creating a web of destruction that should have vaporized any known vessel. But the U.S. Perseverance simply wasn't there anymore. The ship had moved with impossible speed, appearing behind the enemy formation before their sensors could track it. The human vessel's quantum disruptors fired once, and the largest Void Seeker ship simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not damaged. It vanished completely, as if it had never been built. "How?" Commander Keela Nix whispered, watching the impossible display. The battle that followed defied every principle of space combat known to galactic civilization. The U.S. Perseverance moved like a ghost, appearing and disappearing at will. Its weapons operated on principles that bypassed conventional shields entirely. The Void Seeker fleet tried to adapt, but they were fighting an opponent they couldn't understand. Their dark energy weapons passed harmlessly through the human ship's temporal shields, while every human shot found its target with perfect accuracy. "ARIA, status report," Captain Chen requested calmly, as if she were discussing the weather rather than commanding a ship destroying an entire fleet. 15 enemy vessels eliminated, HFY reported cheerfully. Enemy tactical adaptations detected and countered. Estimated time to complete mission: 12 minutes, 14 seconds. The aliens watching from Nexus Prime sat in stunned silence. The primitive human ship they had mocked was systematically destroying a fleet that had annihilated 3 colonies. "Admiral," Commander Kilanix said weakly, "what have we been looking at all these years?" Admiral Zixthor couldn't answer. His understanding of human capabilities had been completely shattered. The species he had considered technologically inferior was displaying technology beyond anything in known space. The U.S. Perseverance continued its deadly dance. The ship's neural AI predicted enemy movements with perfect accuracy, while its quantum weapons struck with the force of collapsed stars. The temporal shields made it effectively invulnerable to conventional attack. 25 enemy vessels eliminated, HFY announced. The remaining fleet is attempting to retreat. "Let them go," Captain Chen ordered. "We've made our point." But the Void Seekers had no intention of retreating. Instead, their remaining ships converged on the U.S. Perseverance, intending to ram it with their combined mass. "Interesting tactic," Sarah observed. HFY, demonstrate Directive 7. "With pleasure, Captain." The human ship suddenly split into 3 identical vessels, each one solid and fully functional. The Void Seeker ramming attack passed through empty space as the real U.S. Perseverance appeared above them. "Holographic projections," Lieutenant Rodriguez asked. "Better than that," HFY replied. "Temporal echoes. Each projection is the ship as it existed 1 second ago, given physical form through quantum manipulation." The 3 versions of the U.S. Perseverance fired simultaneously. The remaining Void Seeker fleet vanished in a brilliant display of quantum fire. Silence fell across the battlefield. Where once there had been 50 hostile vessels, now there was only debris and fading energy signatures. "Mission accomplished," Captain Chen announced to the listening aliens. "Threat neutralized." The communication channels from Nexus Prime remained silent for several long moments. When Admiral Zixthor finally spoke, his voice was filled with awe and not a little fear. "Captain Chen," he said slowly, "would you care to explain what we just witnessed?" Sarah Chen smiled for the first time since the battle began. "Admiral, you witnessed humanity protecting its friends. The U.S. Perseverance is just one of several prototype vessels in the Terran fleet." "Several." Commander Kilanix clicked rapidly. "How many do you have?" "That information is classified," Sarah replied cheerfully. "But I can tell you that humanity takes the protection of galactic peace very seriously." As the U.S. Perseverance began its return journey to Nexus Prime, its hull plates shifted back to their original configuration. The advanced weapons retracted, the exotic energy fields faded, and the ship resumed its humble, cargo hauler appearance. But the aliens watching would never see it the same way again. "Why?" Admiral Zixthor asked finally. "Why hide your true capabilities?" Captain Chen considered the question carefully before answering. "Admiral, humans learned long ago that being underestimated can be the greatest advantage of all. Your enemies don't prepare for what they don't expect." "And your friends?" the Admiral pressed. "Our friends have nothing to fear from us," Sarah replied. "But they also shouldn't assume they know everything about humanity." The hours that followed brought a complete restructuring of galactic military planning. The species that had mocked human technology now desperately sought military alliances with Earth. The Terran Federation found itself elevated from junior member to senior advisor in the Galactic Defense Council. But humanity shared its secrets carefully, revealing only what was necessary to maintain peace. The full extent of human capabilities remained hidden, a deterrent that worked precisely because its limits were unknown. Commander Kilanix requested a private meeting with Captain Chen upon her return to Nexus Prime. "I must ask," the Chithari officer said, "how long has humanity possessed such advanced technology?" Sarah Chen's expression remained neutral. "Commander, Humans have always been innovative. We simply choose our moments to reveal our innovations. And the appearance of your ships, all designed to look primitive. Camouflage has always been a human military specialty, Sarah confirmed. We learned long ago that looking dangerous makes you a target. Looking harmless makes you invisible until you choose to be seen. The meeting ended with new mutual respect between the species. The Chitauri, known for their strategic thinking, appreciated the deeper game humanity had been playing all along. Later, as the U.S. Perseverance prepared for departure, Lieutenant Rodriguez asked his captain a question that had been bothering him. "Captain, was this always the plan? To let them mock us until we could prove our point dramatically?" Sarah Chen looked out at the stars, her expression thoughtful. "Marcus, humans have been surviving by being underestimated for thousands of years. Why change a winning strategy?" The U.S. Perseverance departed Nexus Prime, looking exactly as it had arrived. A humble cargo ship that no one would suspect of destroying an entire fleet. But its reputation now preceded it, and every alien who saw it remembered the lesson it had taught. Humanity had emerged from the shadows not with threats or boasts, but with quiet competence and devastating effectiveness. The galaxy would never mock human technology again, but more importantly, it would never fully understand it either. And that was exactly how humanity preferred it. As Admiral Zixthor watched the human ship disappear into hyperspace, he made a mental note to review all previous intelligence reports about human military capabilities. Clearly, his analysts had missed something important. Commander Keelanix, meanwhile, was already drafting new tactical assessments. The humans had changed the entire balance of galactic power in a single afternoon, and she suspected this was only the beginning. The U.S. Perseverance continued its journey home, carrying secrets that would reshape the galaxy and a crew that knew the true meaning of human determination. They had proven that sometimes the greatest weapon is not the one that looks most dangerous, but the one that no one sees coming. The galaxy had learned to respect humanity at last, but it would never stop wondering what other surprises the quiet species from Earth might be hiding among the stars.